CFFC 120 goes down on June 16th in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And joining me on my show today are two gentlemen that I'm a big fan of. They know a lot about the CFFC. So they're joining me to give you guys an entire breakdown of what you can expect for CFFC 120. Let's introduce them. Jake Noecker is with us. He's with the Cage Side Press and the Scrap. And I'm also joined by Zac Coffman. He is the host for the 4 Ounces to Freedom podcast. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, my man. Good to see you boys.
Good to see you. And Zac, good to see you as well. You're like the CFFC czar. So anytime I have a CFFC question, you're the guy I go to. And let's just start right with you, Zac. CFFC 120. We got a loaded fight card here. What's your initial reaction from it?
Yeah, this card was set from day one to be stacked. I was told back in, I think, December, the next AC card was going to be even better than December's card. I always tell them to prove it, and Aries and the team have done it time and time again. This one, we are gifted with some name power as well. We get the return of Kyle Daukaus coming back to the promotion. Then we have even a few who should not be at this level anymore, who one of which offered to step in, I think, for 4 different fights at UFC 288.
Well, speaking of UFC 288, let's talk to Mr. UFC 288, Mr. Jake Noecker. Jake, welcome. And your thoughts, sir, on this stacked card that we got?
Zac said it best, man. The name power is it's not something rare for CFFC, but there's a lot on this card. Kyle Daukaus alone, and I saw he's not even the main event. That's so much name power. UFC fighter who had a lot of success with the promotion back in the stomping grounds. Charlie Campbell was seconds away from getting it done on Dana White Contender Series, and as Zac just mentioned, was gunning for 288. And then, Vilson, Capaldo, Eric Nolan. It's a big AC card. Biggest name power probably in cage fury history. I'm excited.
We also have some preliminary bouts that are really amazing as well. Is there one on this card that really kind of stands out at you and just really has your interest?
So I thought Jerry Leshy was on the card, so that was one I was excited for, but now I'm not seeing the name. I'm not sure what's up with that. I assume he's not on the card. I'll figure out why, but CJ La Fragola making his pro debut against Aaron Walker. Last time I talked to CJ, I didn't think he was going to be making his pro debut right now, but this is a pro-only card. He was like, let's do it. And I really like him in this matchup too. I don't know if you want to call me a journalist. I call myself a content producer, a promoter, if you will. So then I can be biased and say fun things. But yeah, man, CJ's wrestling is going to be a lot of problems in this matchup, and hell of a pro debut for CJ to make.
Zac, what are your thoughts? Is there an undercard fight here that you like?
Yeah, I'm huge on the Bo Samanego train. Everything out of that Gilbert grappling facility has been impressive. You have, he's the go-to training partner for the CFC featherweight champion, Jose Perez. He's basically being, I don't want to say groomed, but prepped to be Jose's replacement when Jose finally gets the call. And he's facing a Longo and Weidman prospect and Damian, his last name, Nelson. Where, and I ran into Damian when he faced Frank Wells, and Frank Wells just bullied the kid for 15 minutes. And what's impressive there is him and Bo have shared a common opponent. Bo's only loss is to James Lyons, and he was submitted by James. Damian beat James. So MMA math says Damian may win. If looking at the two people, I don't see it.
Yeah, it's both are two really good fights. I have a different one than both of you guys, so I'm really excited about that. So it's not awkward. I want to see Daniel Mahoney versus Adam Livingston. That's one that I have circled. Adam Livingston, we all kind of know what he's about. A Long Island MMA guy. He's been competing in the Flex Fighting Series not that long ago. And for me, when I look at this, he's fighting Daniel Mahoney. He's with the Crazy 88, so he's with a gym based out of Maryland. But I know some of those guys that are on his team, and I'm expecting a really tough, really formidable Daniel Mahoney to walk in here completely under the radar. Nobody's going to be talking about this guy. Nobody's talking about his age. He's 32, 33 years old. So we got that growing man strength too. A lot of unknowns about him. But I also think that's what gives him a lot of like momentum going into this fight. Adam Livingston was on my show not that long ago. I had a really great chat with him. I saw from his last fight and just kind of getting to know him and doing the research about that fight, I saw firsthand how gifted he is. I know why people are so excited about Adam Livingston. So I'm really, I circled this matchup. I'm like, wow, you have like a really young hot shot, but I without seeing Mahoney, I'll already call it. I think this is going to be the toughest matchup that Livingston has encountered in his career to date. I want to see what happens. I'm compelled by this one. I really kind of want to see it. And I want to see how Adam handles the bright lights.
It's just a good undercard, man. I'm excited for the whole thing.
Well, as am I. And gentlemen, we are just going to go ahead and we are going to segue right on up into the main card. And we have a interesting fight between Eric Nolan and Omele Gonzalez. This is a scrap where you have two guys with identical records that are both coming off of really tough losses. And the real key thing I look at in this matchup is 4-2 and 3-3. There's a world of difference between those two records. And Jake, let's start with you. I know that you and I have common ground here with Eric Nolan. We both know him pretty well. We both interviewed him several times. Knowing what you know about Eric, do you have like kind of like a rough idea of like where he's at mentally as he prepares to make a fight against a really difficult guy in Gonzalez?
So, like you said, I spend a lot of time at Dante Rivera's. If there's two gyms I'm biased and very excited to see my guys fight, is Dante's and Team Taino. And Eric Nolan's out of Dante's. I've seen him pretty recently, but more so I talked to his teammate Luke Fernandez recently. Eric, after coming off that loss, tough loss last time out, was at CFFC 118, I believe.
Yes.
He's feeling good. He's feeling ready to rebound. He's been working on his strength, on his body, on his physique a lot. And mentally, he wasn't really too down on himself. He was just kind of like, you know what? I learned a tough lesson. I got good cage experience and I'm ready to put it to work. So I think we're going to see, like I said, I have bias, but unbiasedly, I think we're going to see a very dangerous nighttime Nolan come out of here. And, his opponent, I was looking him up, pretty good guy, like a great opponent. They do not give Eric like easy fights. It's going to be a scrap. It's going to be a fun fight. But yeah, I'm telling you right now, Eric's in a good headspace.
Zach, when this one got announced, what were some of your takeaways for this contest? We look at this fight and for Eric, like Eric's a ticket mover. Like people come out to watch Eric fight. We've all seen the Eric Nolan army that shows up to these fights. What are your thoughts and how do you think he's going to respond to all the pressure for this one?
Yeah, not only do you see it, you hear it. It was deafening when he lost last time out. Last time out was also a late replacement. So hopefully this opponent sticks around for the next couple weeks. That way the game plan doesn't have to be adjusted. Outside of that, it seems to be a Dante Rivera thing. When they lose, you're screwed the next time out. They come with like an anger. They come with a reason to like destroy you. They always go for the win, but after a loss, it's just a whole different story. And in that fight too, like Eric, there was a lot to learn on Eric's end. I'm not trying to bash him or anything, but there was a lot of things that I think it was Blaine that faced him last time. Mm-hmm. It just came in and it was just just something was off. That whole night was not a good night for the local guys at all, and it started with Eric, I believe. So yeah, with that, it's one of those. He knows where he is. He knows where he needs to be, and he's going to show it on June 16th. It's going to be one of those highlight performances, I think.
I'll ask both of you gentlemen this question. For Gonzalez, what does he need to do to win this fight? And Jake, we'll start with you.
I think from when we've seen Eric struggle, and I know this is something he's been working on, but when we've seen him struggle, it's when his gas is pushed and he's put in compromising positions. Last fight out, I'm not sure if the cut specifically threw him off, but he got cut open, put in a compromising rear naked choke 2 or 3 times, and it wore on him, and it happened. So I think Gonzalez has to go forward, put the gas on, not be afraid to get hit. If you're fighting Eric Nolan, you're going to be pushed against the cage. You're going to take elbows. You're going to take knees. You're not going to have a good first round and a half. If you can survive that, that's your best chance. So that would be my advice.
Zach?
Spot on. Dante Rivera cage fighting, or up against the cage fighting. Being able to put up with that, get into the later rounds, and not let the crowd influence your decisions. You're gonna be on enemy territory. It's gonna be an Eric Nolan crowd. You're gonna have people on the side of the cage yelling in addition to the cornerman. Mute all that out. Listen to your coach and stick to your game plan. A lot easier when I'm not the one getting punched in the face.
Zach, I'll start with you. The verdict for this bout, what do you see happening in the contest between Nolan and Gonzalez?
Yeah, Nolan's not going to let this go to decision. This is a performance requirement, basically, from him. He needs to right the wrong of the last time out. I don't know how he's going to get the finish, but he's going to get a finish in the second round. It's not going to touch the third. It might not even get halfway through the second. He's going to finish him in under 1.5.
Mr. Noecker.
I'm the same boat. Eric Nolan, probably round 2, knockout, TKO, maybe a submission. I think it's going to come off the cage. I think it's going to be, like I said, bloody, a war. And maybe for some, so I don't just throw all my marbles on Eric. If Gonzalez can survive that, he has a good chance of finishing the fight late round 2 or early round 3.
We have another interesting contest between Dennis Buzukja going up against Soslan Abanokov. I hope I got the names right on this one. If I didn't, my bad. We do the best that we can with what we have. A 10-2 guy going up against a 6-4 guy. Zach, we all know what Dennis brings to the table. We know what type of caliber of fighter that he is. We've seen him compete at the highest stages before. Your thoughts on his return to the CFFC cage, and are you surprised to see him here?
Yeah, Dennis, I'm not going to touch the last name. I'm just going to call him Dennis the Great. He does not need to be on the regional. He should not be on the regional. He should be fighting in August, not in June. He's one of the ones who were calling for every single fight at UFC 288. His manager was literally, someone was like, "Oh, there's a bad weight cut. I have a guy. This fight's off. I have a guy." Dennis was also at 288 because he's out of the Longo crew. He trains with Damien. He trains with Aljo and Steamroller and that whole bout. And everyone from there has even said he should not be on this card. Even during the time when he was basically begging for every fight, I even reached out and was like, "Dude, I'm going to see you fight either way." And honestly, you probably deserve to be on the 288 card. It's in basically New York. But I think in your performance on June 16th, you might get that call anyway.
Yeah.
Outside of that, he's your typical Longo prospect. He's going to be dirty. He's going to be scrappy and dirty, and he's going to put a show on.
Jake, your takeaway from this really kind of surprising matchup. I did not think I'd see this guy competing on the regional MMA scene, but I'd love to get your thoughts as well. Your thoughts, your perspective on this contest.
I mean, you both said it best. We didn't expect Dennis to be back here, and I'm not complaining that I'm going to get to watch him in person, and I think we're going to get to watch him probably put Soslan's lights out. Watching Soslan, he's a very good grappler. He's going to grapple heavy, try to go for the legs nonstop, but there's levels to the game, and Dennis isn't just a regional cage-free fighter. He's someone who's been up there before, who's back down here now, and I just think we're going to see that difference in experience in this fight.
Well, this is going to test the Captain Obvious theory, but I'll ask both of you gentlemen, what do you have for the verdict for this contest? And we'll start with you, Jake.
If Soslan can't implement the grappling attack in an effective way that's going to last 15 minutes, Dennis is going to find a way to finish the fight.
And Zach?
Win or by finish or decision, Dennis is walking with this. And I don't think it matters if it's 15 minutes, 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Dennis is going to, he knows where he belongs, and it's not on a regional level. This is a fight that it should be a fight night card opener. At the very least, an Apex show Contender Series bout.
Well, with a victory over another formidable opponent, I hope that we see that very, very soon. You're talking about a highly decorated fighter. I hope that with another solid performance, he gets an opportunity to compete at the highest level in MMA. We're going to move on up the card. We have another exciting contest, this time between Paul Capaldo and Elijah Harris. This is Paul Capaldo's first fight back into the CFFC cage since him and Jose Perez went to freaking war. It was my favorite regional MMA fight I've ever seen in my freaking life. Jake Noecker, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me there's another regional MMA fight out there better than that one, because I don't think there is.
I don't know about better. There's some that are up there with it, but that was a crazy fight. And then, yeah, when I was doing the notes for this fight, dude, I saw that was the last fight he's had. And I was like, oh, man, that was like a year and a half ago. So excited to see him back in here. And when you just look at Capaldo's resume, dude, Vilson, Tyler Matheson, who just beat Eddie Torres, Chris Vasile, Jose Perez. He was supposed to fight Fernie Garcia, didn't get it in, but like crazy resume. I was talking about levels in the last fight. I think this is another one. Levels to this game. Capaldo is just really good, man. I'm excited to see what he's going to bring.
Zach, I will ask you a little bit. You're the inside man. You're the guy that has all the secret information on everybody. Elijah Harris, what is this guy all about? And in your mind, what is compelling him to take a fight over an insanely difficult opponent like Paul Capaldo?
Yeah, I actually don't know a lot about Elijah, but I know why. The whys, I think, is pretty easy. Capaldo had a Contender Series invite. That 2020 thing came around and took him out of it. He came back and he fought Jose Perez. That was supposed to be a feeder fight. Yeah. Jose has a tendency to ruin the promotion's plans. He turned that around. I do know. I was one of the few to interview Capaldo. He did get injured in the first round. Did that change anything? You can't tell. I know it limited his wrestling, and that's also why it kind of turned into what it was. But Jose also put the work in for the entire fight. So on Elijah's end, it's the right move. Find someone with a name. Find someone who had that ticket already. A win there can do things for your career. Perez beat Capaldo and got a title shot the next time out. Next time out was against Frank Wells. What does it do for Elijah here? Does he go in? Does he get a Contender Series fight out of this if he wins? I don't see it. I do see this fight kind of as a tune-up for Capaldo. And I think at first I was really against it. I was like wondering why, of all people, Capaldo was getting a tune-up fight. But when you look at the fact of being out for now over a year, I'm not as against it. Do you really want to put him? Who else would he face? Rematch with Vasile, who he had a knockout of the year finish over. And anyone, there's no one above that. Vasile should be the next featherweight title contender.
Well, talk about champagne problems. And when I think of champagne problems, I think about you, Jake. I don't know why, I just do. And let's talk a little bit about Elijah Harris. What does he need to do to shock Atlantic City on Fight Night?
If you're Elijah Harris, you gotta. Capaldo loves to kick. I mean, his kicks are. He has great finishes from him. He's gonna rip your body. He's gonna rip your legs. He's gonna look for the head. He's gonna mix it up. So if you're Elijah Harris, you got to close the distance, and that's not gonna be easy to do against Capaldo. I think like a lot of people are gonna have to do a lot of enemy waters fighter who are coming in from out of town. You're gonna have to quiet that crowd. You're gonna have to bite down on the mouthpiece. You're going to have to close the distance, and you're going to have to make it an ugly brawl. Because when you're going into enemy territory, that's what you have to do. You got to throw off the rhythm, and you got to make it your fight.
I'm going to go out on a wild limb here and say, Jake, you and Zach are both on Paul Capaldo to get in the win column for this one. Am I making any too bold of a claim here on that? No, we're moving on. We're moving up to Charlie Campbell going up against Josh Streacker. We all know what an amazing fighter Charlie Campbell is in particular. A very, very exciting guy. One punch finishing power for this guy is all it takes. Inches away from winning his fight on the Contender Series. And Zach, let's start with you. Charlie Campbell coming back into the CFFC cage. This was something that I wasn't anticipating at all. Much like Kyle Daukaus, I thought he was going to get on the Contender Series, get a knockout win. He was inches away from doing that. Fight doesn't end up going his way. We see him back in the CFFC cage. I'd love to get your thoughts on this matchup against Josh Streacker, because Josh Streacker, this guy's no joke either. Like, this guy's been in the game for quite a while. And when you look at it, he's won 3 of his last 4, and I bet he loves this matchup. I bet Josh Streacker loves the idea of coming in as the blue corner bandit that nobody is talking about. Your thoughts on this really exciting matchup?
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. It's not the opponent who I thought it would be. I really thought we were going to get Cedric Gunnarsson too. That would have made the stacked card even more stacked, having that second title fight. Cedric wanted to fight in June. Cedric wanted to fight with Charlie Campbell. But we got Josh Streacker. And I'm sure there's things that go with that. Josh, genius move to take the fight. Charlie is obviously on the radar of the UFC. He was 2 punches away, a jab away from getting a contract. And he looked great until that jab, and then he was asleep. Mm-hmm. But Josh again has experience. He's been in Bellator. He's been around the block. I am interviewing Josh before the card. I have not been able to talk to him yet to really get where he's at. It is hard to go from at least being on one of the shows. Bellator doesn't hold as much value as being in the UFC or even on the UFC's radar, but he has a winning record there, and that says something for eventually getting that late notice call or an opportunity like this one where you're fighting someone who is a high level prospect with a name. It's just one of those, again, it's going to be a one-sided crowd. Josh, I think, is from Illinois. I don't think anyone outside of the Gilbert grappling crew are flying in from Illinois. And I don't know if they're going to be sitting there cheering for Josh. So silencing that crowd and really silencing them with a win is all he needs to focus on.
Perfect. Well, Jake, tell me about this one. The surprising return of Charlie Campbell again. Like, that can't be emphasized enough. I think we're all equally surprised that here we would be in 2023 talking about Charlie Campbell in the CFFC still. Yet here we are. Give me your breakdown on this really exciting fight.
I mean, this is the perfect fight for Charlie Campbell and for Josh Streacker. A win for either guy is huge. Charlie Campbell wins. He beats somebody who's, he's not just some random regional fighter. He's someone who has real experience and who's been there before, who's gotten great wins before. That's a good win to get the UFC calling you again, especially, home with all your Longo Weidman buddies probably in attendance and your teammates on the card. And then Josh Streacker, you come in and beat a guy like Charlie Campbell, you steal that attention. The UFC is going to say, wow, who's this guy? Let's look at him. 4 out of his last 5, we're going to give him a call. So huge fight for both guys. But the thing that's going to separate the two is the experience and the power of Charlie Campbell. Like I said, Longo Weidman and his hands, man, in that Dana White Contender Series fight, he had Chris Duncan out. And Chris Duncan threw a random hookup, caught Charlie, changed the fight. It was a straight. I don't remember. It was nonsense. It was crazy, and it was as lucky as MMA can get. So this is a good fight for both these guys, and this is probably, in my opinion, the best fight we're going to get all night.
All right. Well, gentlemen, it's verdict time, and Zach, we'll start with you. Your prediction for this, how this one will go.
Longo doesn't lose this fight. Campbell's going to put a show on. You can call it a tune-up fight. You can call it a rebound fight. You can call it just a showcase. It's the best we're going to get unless they could have got Cedric Gunnarsson versus Campbell, and Charlie's going to run away with it. He needs I think he needs to get a finish. I think he needs to show that it was, I don't want to say a fluke, because, Duncan has come back in a second fight and looked good as well. But I finish here. I think he bypasses the second half of Contender Series and might get a call directly in.
Jake Noecker.
Yeah, someone's getting knocked out. And the reason I'm saying someone's getting knocked out is because I've just noticed I picked pretty much all favorites so far, and after every CFFC card, Zach and I are talking like, wow, didn't expect those underdogs to win. So someone's getting knocked out. I think Charlie Campbell is who I'm picking to win by knockout. But if Josh Streacker can pull a Chris Duncan, which we know can happen, nothing's impossible.
Gentlemen, we are now in the co-main event territory. It is Kyle Daukaus. He'll be taking up Robert Gidron. It's really kind of interesting when I look at Kyle Daukaus, and maybe it's just me because I'm not a Philadelphia guy like you guys are, but I still don't know what to make of Kyle Daukaus. I don't. There are times where he looks absolutely like an unstoppable force. And then there are other times called a product of just bad luck, being snake bitten, or just not showing up to fight. I just feel like there's just a huge spectrum of information out there. And every time I watch him fight, I just don't really know what to expect. And Robert Gidron, I don't really know anything about this guy. But if I'm Robert Gidron, this is a fight that motivates me. I am fully aware that Kyle Daukaus went through a plethora of potential opponents for this one. And Jake, I'd love to start with you. I'd love for you to first and foremost, like when you look at Kyle Daukaus and you look at his body of work and what he's accomplished in the CFFC, and then maybe like a iffy run in the UFC, if you want to even call it that, what do you make of him collectively as a fighter?
Kyle Daukaus is an extremely talented, skilled, precise, technical martial artist. His skills are what carries him in fights. He's not a fighter who's going to aggressively chase a submission or clobber you with crazy knockout shots. He's going to go out there and use his skill to win. I think both Daukaus brothers right now are having a very similar issue in different facets, but their chins are not getting the break they deserve. Chris Daukaus, rightfully so, is moving down to light heavyweight after some time off. Before that, a lot of fights in a row that he was getting knocked out. Kyle Daukaus, headbutt to a legitimate knockout to a lot of damage, all quick succession trying to rebound from a loss. I think with some time off, a new promotion, it's hard to call anybody a lesser opponent in this sport, but somebody who's not as experienced as the people he's been going up against. I think his chin got the time off it needed. I think he got a little bit of a refresh, and I think his skills are going to come out and flourish without him having to recover off of a crazy shot he's been taking against the cage.
Zach, we'll go over to you. And, I have been mixing it up this entire show, but you know what? I'd love to just ask you the same question I just asked Jake. Your take on Kyle as a fighter, because I think there's probably a lot of like opinions out there about him. I won't call him polarizing, but I do think it's fair to say it's probably debatable. There are probably people that look at him and either have a lot of positive things to say, or maybe they're not quite sold on him. What do you think about when you look at Kyle Daukaus as a fighter?
Yeah, I debated if I was biased on this. I'm a huge fan of both Daukaus brothers. I'm a fan of pretty much everyone, Adam Martinez, BJJ.
Yeah.
And, I watched Kyle's career go from Art of War to CFFC to the UFC and now back to the CFFC. I reached out to him back in like December because I heard rumors that he was hanging him up. He did clarify I was in complete wrong there. That was not the case. It was more so getting the time off, getting the actual recovery that he needed. And then, this news came out of nowhere. I usually have some idea of who might be coming on a card, especially like a name value. And this one was, I learned about it in an email. I think I got the email and texted Jake and was like, what the hell?
Yep.
And then right there, I started going through it. Now, who do you face him with? He's on like a 3-fight losing streak, or I guess 2, and then the no contest. Mm-hmm. But then you hear now, this is the 6th opponent he was offered. And it got to the point where he's just like, I accept. It doesn't matter who it is, I accept. I need to get back in the cage. I need to get back in there. And that says a lot for 5 people to back away from it on a guy with a losing streak who has shown he's able to be knocked out. Maybe he's not the Darce Knight anymore. Maybe he has it, the chin is gone. Who knows? On the other hand, he has a lot to show now. He has to show that he's the Kyle Daukaus that wants to win. I think the Roman fight where he shattered his face, he couldn't really control much there. When he came back, I think he came back a little too soon. Eric Anders kind of like beat the pulp out of him also. And it seemed like the first or second punch, like Kyle was like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
Now on the other side of the cage, again, don't know much about the guy. Massive balls for taking the fight. I mean, it's a win-win for him. He wins and he gets a name on his record. He loses and he still has that name on his record as someone he faced. And then back on the Kyle side, everyone in that gym right now has a matchup coming up. This might be I hate when everyone says this is the best camp they're in, but Chris has the light heavyweight fight coming up. Matt Turnbull has a fight coming up. Patrick Brady has a fight coming up. Callie B is grappling at Fury Grappling. Everyone is in the gym right now. This should be the best Kyle Daukaus we see.
For Robert Gidron, we'll keep it with you, Zach. A lot of people are going to go immediately to Tapology with the question a lot of people probably have. Who is this guy and what does he bring to the table? In the brief amount of homework that you've done about this opponent, what have you found out about Gidron and why do you think he's taken this fight apart from the name recognition of Daukaus?
Yeah. My search has been Typology.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot out there on this guy. He's managed by a small team. They don't have a website. They don't use their Instagram. They don't use anything, which is fun. I'm trying to get an interview with the guy, and I was told to contact the management. It's like him and one other fighter that are managed by these guys. So I think, why did he take the fight? The name value and who's really reaching out for fights. He's not under Iridium. He's not under Ruby. He's not under any of the bigger names where you go to. I think, obviously he wasn't the first pick. There's a reason why he was like sixth in line. And I think it's just one of those situations where someone knew of him. I don't know if it was on like Aries like list of names or if it was one of those like reached out to a group setting, was like, I need a fighter, and who wants to face a guy with a name? Outside of that, it's just like I said, it's a win-win for this guy. Why not take the fight?
Completely agree. I don't think Robert Gidron loses anything regardless of what happens on this night. And, fighters fight. And if you have an opportunity to throw it up in a co-main event slot on UFC Fight Pass against a UFC vet, like everyone should be dying for this opportunity. So why people would turn down Kyle Daukaus, like you always have to be like prepared to like get an opportunity that falls from the sky. And as soon as people found out about Kyle's release, and if you fight in the general Northeast, like this should have been something. If you're in this weight class, you should have been thinking about this. So, hey, to the victor goes the spoils, I guess. Gentlemen, let's talk about the breakdown for this one. How do we see this fight going? And we'll start with you, Jake.
So I think Kyle comes out and does what he should do, so to speak. I think he's going to execute on all levels. He's going to outclass Robert Gidron because it's not a secret. It's not a secret who is the better martial artist here, right? Kyle Daukaus he's better gym, more experience. It's just he's the better martial artist. That's not really a question in my opinion. But the thing about fighting is it's not about who's the best because it's a fight. And I don't like that Kyle Daukaus is going to be a minus 1,200 favorite. I think all fighters should be minus 110 apiece because all you need is one of these to land. And if I'm Robert Gidron and I see Kyle Daukaus, who's coming off of a 2, 3, 2.5, whatever you want to call it, knockout loss streak, I'm going in there and I'm going for broke because I know I can't outcompete him, but I can outpunch him and I can outland him. So I think Kyle gets it done, but there's a very real possibility that Robert goes in there and gets a win by knockout.
Mr. Coffman.
Yeah. Gidron has to basically bum rush him. I don't see Kyle coming out with Chase Hooper hands like Chase has had last night. I think, Kyle is he's a grappler. He's going to use the punches to kind of set up those takedowns. He's going to be as much mental preparedness he's coming into this, that thought in the back of the head. Am I going to get knocked out again? Am I going to get finished again? If Gidron kind of just rushes it in and forces that against the cage, this isn't Dante Rivera. Martinez is not, up against the cage all half the session. Get him against the cage, fight dirty, avoid the ground as much as possible. Do not go to the ground with Kyle Daukaus. Outside of that, he's gonna have his main team with him on the corner. It's gonna be Chris, and it's gonna be, probably Will Martinez, and then whoever the third might be. This is outside of that. I think the first round is going to be a worry. If Kyle can survive the first round, he's submitting him in the second or third.
All right, perfect. Well, up to the main event, and that means I have to do the least amount of talking possible. So I'll simply say it's an exciting fight. It's a title fight. We got Vilson Ndregjoni going up against Wendel Araujo. I'm excited about this one. You're talking about a guy who's had success in Titan. He knocked off their champion, and he'll be looking to get another link for this one. But he's going to have his work cut out for him. This guy, Ndregjoni, is not a joke. Like, we've all seen this guy compete many times. We all know how good he is. Jake, let's start with you. Exciting matchup here. Break it down for me.
This is a good one. This is a good fight. I'm shocked that Kyle Daukaus is not the main event, but I get it. This is a title fight that has to be the main event, and it's a good title fight, to say the least. I have a feeling, Zach, you're going to, if I'm wrong, you can tell me, but I have a feeling you're all over Vilson. Am I right or am I wrong?
I like the discount, Marab. Yes.
So I was excited for this one because the discount Marab.
Great value, Marab.
The discount Volkanovski, too. He looks just like Volk. But I am on the other side. I'm all over Wendel, which I knew you were going to maybe be expecting or surprised about, one of the two. And the reason being, last time out, dude, at what was that, 117? No, it was 118 when Vilson beat Ashik. Ashik had a very good first round and a half, 2 rounds. I don't remember what it was. And it was because of the pressure he put on Vilson. Wendel, that's his game, man. He's pressure all day. He's going to come forward. He's going to put pressure on, and he's a great grappler on top of that, better than Ashik is. So just based on what I've seen from Vilson in person, based on what I've seen from Wendel, I think Wendel, and I know he's going to be a big underdog. I know how they do in AC. I like the Wendel fight. I like the Wendel odds here, man. I got to go with Wendel to become and new.
Jake Noecker coming from left field. Zach, your thoughts on this matchup? How do you see the breakdown of this fight between two very skilled 135-pounders?
Yeah, I think it's fun to be in AC because the sportsbook there offers lines. Yeah. Outside of that, great point. Ashik was looking great until his nose went across his face. Outside of that, this isn't the weight class Vilson's normally at. He has been a featherweight for a while. I had heard rumors. I think they were supposed to be eventually a Vilson versus Perez fight, not for the title, but I think it was rumored at one point because of the grappling between the two. Obviously not doing the best at featherweight, probably not going to get a title shot anytime soon. Drop down in weight, get the title shot. CFFC has a pretty good track record with the bantamweight champions. One of them kind of holds a UFC belt now. And but outside of that, I think it's a much harder fight for him than what was originally scheduled. Justin Clark is a killer at a Dante or Nick Catone. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. I know it's definitely not. It was never announced what happened, so I'm going to play dumb on that. And so to switch up an opponent there, and it's champion versus champion. Those are always fun. The last time they brought a champion in versus champion, Greg Ellis beat Donovan Beard.
Yeah.
And that was an Art of War champion, and people tend to know my opinion about that promotion. So coming in from Titan, I hold them at pretty much the same regard. It's they try their best down in Florida. I don't think their titles hold a lot of value, but the kid's good. I don't really put much emphasis and thought into the grappling, but Jake kind of hit a spot there. I think the guy's name's like Cobra, or his nickname's Cobra.
I like him, boys. I like him.
You don't get a snake nickname unless you're a choker. And Vilson's a small dude. There's not much room there to be lanky and get out of things.
Are you taking the blue corner?
I'm gonna still go Vilson.
Okay.
It's just one of those things. Like, I don't know if he's actually Georgian like Marab, but I know his supporters are scary. They're loud and scary.
Okay.
And,
So Jake, make sure you wear a mask on fight night.
Oh, I can't. Hey, let me clarify my pick. Vilson is very good. This is a close fight. I'm saying this to his supporters. I'm saying this to Marquez MMA, but Wendel's good too. That's all I'm saying. It's going to be a good fight.
It is going to be a good fight indeed. And to everybody who has stuck with us and has watched this entire episode, please follow both of these guys. Please follow Zac. Zac is putting out amazing podcasts all the time. He's interviewing some of the top talent all over the country. Make sure you do that. Please also make sure that you are following my man Jake. Jake is all over the place. He's doing all kinds of amazing things. He's always putting out great content. And I want to give both of these men the final word. Zac, can you tell us a little bit about what you kind of have in your pipeline and what people can expect coming out of you within the next few weeks?
Yeah, I have a few. I just did a handful of Combat FC interviews. I'm leading into my CFFC 120 interviews. June 16th is huge on Fight Pass. If you are a fight fan, and if you are watching this interview, you're a fight fan. I don't know why you would still listen to us talk if you're not. You need to use that 4-fight view setup on Fight Pass on June 16th. Everyone has a card. I don't know if this is the second half of Contender series filtering or what's going on there, but every card is a banger on June 16th, and I'm just trying to get a little piece of each of them. Like I said, I did the Combat FC next to CFFC. Might try LFA next because it will be a US card for there too. But outside of that, I'm just kind of sticking with the regional guys. They seem to be a little more hungry once they get up to the big show. But outside of that, just trying to have fun and shoot the shit with fighters.
Perfect. Well, Jake, you are a man of many talents. I know that you have a pen in your hand. I know that you're shooting all kinds of amazing interviews. I'm expecting you, sir. I'm expecting your mug to be in Dante Rivera's gym very, very soon, cutting some great interviews. Tell me what you got going on.
Well, first of all, Tyler, thank you for having me, man. Great to talk to you finally. And Zac, always a pleasure, my man. But yeah, what do I got going on? So this week, I'm going to Martinez, and I'm talking to Kyle Daukaus, maybe Chris Daukaus. Going to get both of their thoughts on 120 and UFC, all that good stuff. And then I'm also talking to CJ Lafragola on Friday at Nick Catone's. We'll see who else is in Nick Catone's. Frankie Edgar usually pops in around there, and a lot of other people. After that, not going to lie, going to Jamaica, taking a week off. So there is not much on my docket right now. I'm hoping to cover another UFC event soon, whether that's in Boston or November at MSG. But yeah, man, just trying to promote the fighters that we all love. And, you know, they're the reason we're in the sport, man. So thanks to them.
Well, gentlemen, I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you guys for being here. And if you guys have predictions for the fight, make sure you drop them in the comments. The three of us, we will probably read all of them and chastise everyone who has a bad opinion. We'll be sure to do that as well. If you want to see more content just like this, share this video with your networks, put it up out there. These guys spend a lot of time preparing for this show, and any sort of appreciation would be much appreciated. So thank you, gentlemen, and thank you for everyone who's watching at home. We'll see you soon.